Okay. Take 3.
Good. We seem to be okay.
Take 3.
Great. Third time lucky.
I'm going to get on and talk about stuff, but the only problem is I actually need to use this. So
yep, that's okay.
Okay. All right. Right. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is what I've got on the frame behind me. Yeah, I can't see the screen. So I want to talk about the panel I've got behind me, which is the Dream Big panel. There were 2 versions. The one that I've got here, which I quilted last year, or year before? I can't remember. This one is the big metre square Dream Big panel. And the lady who designed these for Kaufman basically took a flower print, a digital print, and then they recolored it in various colorways. So they are absolutely lush. The one I've got on here, I have actually started to baste on here, but this one is called Kablooms. It consists of this smaller panel, which is like a small version of the Dream Big, and then there are various versions. This one's got this fabulous sort of starburst. It's almost like something that you might see in outer space when something just explodes. And we've always found it really difficult to show on our website how good it is. But I took some extra pictures this week with some coordinating threads. So let me just show you those. Because the glide threads are so beautiful with it. And what you do, if you want to bring it over here, Pete, what we recommend you do, if you've got some threads in your collection and you want to I'm going to say curate your collection of threads for your Dream Big. If you want to sort of try them out, the best thing to do, don't just look at the cone like that. The best thing to do is actually lay them out on the panel to see whether it's got the right impact. So I wanted a particularly dark at the corners because it's going to make it look much more dimensional. I wanted something that's going to work in this section here. This is Viking. This is wine. It's got some of this sort of darker, beautiful Viking colour in it. And then we've also got the Bombay. So Bombay is that one. Now there are other ones that would work. So I had a quick look in my own collection, which we use for classes, and some of these would equally work. So if you've got colours in your selection, it's not really so much always about the thread, whether it's glide or whether it's King Tut or So Fine or whatever. The colour is actually more important. So you might need to change the needle when you're using your threads and working your way through the quilt. But actually, we had a discussion. In fact, I was talking with Linda Jackson about that, and she pretty much said it's actually the colour for her as much as anything when she's doing something like this. That's a bit pear-shaped. Right. The panel itself then, this one is a smaller one. Now, we thought it would be nice because we've got a selection of these, and if we just go back over here, Pete. So I've laid them out here, and we've got, just pop that in as well. I can't do that now. We've got the neon that we've teamed up. Now we've got these on our website, so I put them up as a collection. This is beautiful. Look at that. So that's like the one I did, but this is the Kablooms version. So we've got another starburst one, a sort of aurora type effect. And the neon one we've teamed up with 4 lush glide threads. I should have said hello to Pearl and various other people. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing the sort of the list of people, scrolling, so I can't see who's coming on board. But we've also got this one. Now, this panel here, this was called, what was this called? Onyx. Onyx.
This is the Onyx panel.
Onyx. And Caroline, we remember your beautiful dog, Onyx. Yes, this is lovely. I love this sort of fresh aqua. This is the colourway that Angela Walters used, I think it was last year, sort of the year before last, for one of her quilt alongs, which you can probably still see on YouTube. It's lovely colourway. And we got that really nice neutral. And I remember one of our customers, Lynn Lester, she did the big version of that neutral, but in a dark thread, which was very, very cool. We've also got the full size. You okay, Pete?
Yep.
We've also.
I'm trying to carry the power around as well as the camera.
Yeah, Pete has now got a power lead as well as the camera, tripod,
so
and his coffee.
Linda Jackson's with us this morning. Morning,
Oh,
Linda.
hi, Linda.
So
hello.
She's confirmed definitely go for the colour and the thickness of the thread first. The make is least important.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for that input. So Linda is a Handy Quilter ambassador and educator, and hopefully, if conditions allow, we'll have some more teaching with Linda, and that would be wonderful. So this is fuchsia. Fuchsia is absolutely gorgeous, and we've teamed that up with these colours here. So we've got a special offer, actually, on these. I mean, this isn't really about selling you stuff, but we did think that it was worth teaming it up with our beautiful glide threads so that you don't have to work out which threads would go, because the subtleties of pink and reds on the internet with your screen and with our photos, etc., you're not going to necessarily be able to colour match to something like this on a screen. So we've put that together with some of our glide threads. So those are the colourways. The one I've got on here is Aurora. So what I'd like to do is just discuss with you how I would approach quilting this. A lot of people bought Dream Big. They were so inspired by some of the Handy Quilter live sessions that I was talking about that you might not have heard. And one of the things that happened was lots of people bought Dream Big. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But it's a bit of a rabbit in the headlights moment when you look at this massive 1 metre wide, deep panel and you think, how am I going to quilt that? So one of the things that we did was Abigail ran here a workshop, a Dream Big workshop. We cut it into quarters, and it was a lot easier to sort of think about how you might quilt a quarter of it. Obviously, it's not going to be for the same purpose. I mean, the large wall hanging is beautiful, and I've seen some fantastic versions of it on the Longarm learning curve that I was mentioning earlier. That's the group that was set up by Nell and Linda after one of the first foundation workshops. And the thing I was talking about with that, by the way, is that is a fabulous resource that is available to people who've purchased a Handy Quilter. And it's where that people post the photos of the quilts they're working on, they ask questions, they ask technical questions, they talk about what they're doing. And it's a private group, so it's a lovely safe space where we can do that. So I think one of the things to say is really that's something that we really have found is very, very useful for our customers. Longarm learning curve. Back to quilting Dream Big. Now, I found the same with the neon in terms of how do I quilt it. And what I decided to do was do some improv type quilting along with feathers. So I've got feathers, I've got swirls, at the outside edges I've got some pebbling to create more depth and density of quilting. So you just need to do some doodling first. Okay. We always recommend that you do some doodling.
It gives you a chance to have a swig of your coffee.
I was just thinking that. Thank you.
Question from Jackie as to what bobbin thread you might use for these panels.
Yeah, it depends on the colour of the panel. I mean, the onyx is very, very light. So I was going to mention about Lynn, who did the light Dream Big. And I went down to see Lynn. We did she upgraded, and I went down and saw the actual quilt, which is a little bit different from when you see something when it's posted online. And she'd used quite a dark thread with it. It was so effective, in which case you would match that similarly dark thread in the bobbin. Now, I've got a mix of colours on the Aurora that I've loaded on here, and I've gone for a mid to dark grey, mainly because I think I've looked at it with the threads and thought, actually, that's absolutely fine. So it just depends. You've got to you've got to really think about how that's going to work if you've got a variegated with light sections. I mean, you might not go all the way to the extreme of someone like Sue Patton, Handy Quilter Ambassador Sue Patton, who, when she's using a variegated, actually unwinds the bobbin thread and then rewinds it so both the top thread and the bobbin thread come off with the same stripe of colour at the same moment. You might not do that, but some people do, Sue being one of them, and that's amazing because it means that tension is quite difficult to get with a variegated, for example, and she avoids that issue. If you're going for a solid colour, I would go for something quite neutrally and think about your backing fabric. So think about the interaction between the top thread, the bobbin thread, and the backing fabric in conjunction, obviously, with what effect you're trying to create. So just a little bit to think about there. Now, what I would do if I were starting something like this, so it's Saturday morning, I'm thinking, right, I would like to quilt that. So I think about wadding, I think about my colours. I've already started to think about my colours. I've got some from my palette. I've got my 4 threads from my pack, and I'm adding some others possibly, just for a little highlight here and there. I might do that. But also I think about the wadding. So let me just talk to you about the wadding. The wadding itself, I've used 2 waddings, and this isn't unusual. I used 2 on the big Dream Big panel. Typically, if you want definition and it's going to go on a wall, it's lovely if the light casts from sides, or even if you've got sort of uplighters, downlighters, whatever they're called, downlighters. And what you need then is to create dimension. Well, dimension is created by having a slightly more puffy wadding. One way to achieve that is to have something like an 80-20 Hobbs Heirloom Premium, or something like Quilter's Dream Select as your base fabric, and then put a more puffy wadding, Hobbs Poly Down, Hobbs Wool, something like that on the top. So here's an example. This is a Hobbs Poly Down. It's a polyester wadding. It's a beautiful wadding to use on top of the Hobbs Heirloom. Then the other option you've got is a slightly more expensive option, but I've used it really effectively. I know quite a few of our customers do. This is a Hobbs Heirloom Wool, and it's a beautiful wadding. When you take it out the packet, you need it to breathe. The one I've got here, I just removed from the pack, and I've got this actually in a quilt on my bed, and it's absolutely beautiful to machine quilt, by the way. But on something like the Dream Big here, it's perfect because we have then got these 2 waddings. Right, there's my Hobbs Wool, and there's my Hobbs Heirloom, 80-20. And I put the more puffy one on the top. And what that does is, as I'm quilting it, I'm getting that really lovely definition. So it's a great approach. Any questions, Pete? Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. Diabelle has said that she used the same colour glide front and back.
Yeah.
Which of course you can do. No other questions.
Okay.
Just to let you know, incidentally, on these panels, at the moment we've only got 4 of each panel and thread pack collections available.
That's right.
And a couple of them have gone already. So
okay.
If you find we're out of stock,
email us.
Please email, because we will have some more glide thread coming in next week, and we might be able to put the packs together again. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, email us if you find that they're out and you would like any of the products, actually. Now, the other thing I want to just run through is the idea of having your notebook where you do your drawings. So for my Dream Big here, I would reference things that I've done before, or I would do my little sketches from classes that I've done. So this kind of thing. So here's my feathers. And I did a class actually with Telen Jeffrey recently, and that was fantastic. So Telen sort of uses the spine quite a lot to sort of create definition and interest by build up of threads, and that always looks good. It kind of depends as well on the colour of the thread, because something that's a very strong contrast can look absolutely fantastic when there's plenty of stems and extra detail. Something like, I wonder if I've got an example. Probably haven't. But there's lots of designs that I can reference in here, like these sort of things. This was with Carly Porter. These look really good when you sort of put them in conjunction with pebbling, with this sort of joining sections to create fill. Always remembering that it's about balance as well. So balance being, if you quilt everything the same, there is nowhere for your eye to rest. There's nowhere for your eye to sort of move around the quilt. So over quilting everything the same can have the opposite impact. And particularly if we've used that extra bit of wadding and we want to create some dimension. So allowing the wadding to sort of puff up. And it's almost like you've got to think about it in reverse. So the bit that you heavily quilt is going to not show, that's going to be knocked back. And we use that term knocking back, the wadding, to be a definition of things where we do lots and lots of micro quilting. And we've got the micro foot that I would put on this panel, and I would use that for doing the real detail. Microfoot, for those of you who don't know about the great foot, came out last year, and it has been an absolute bonus for quilters. It actually looks like someone's broken the foot, but they haven't. It actually goes down, holds the fabric while the stitch is being formed, and that enables you to get a really good stitch. But you can see exactly where the needle is, so that is absolutely brilliant. So what I'd like to do next is start by showing you how I would attach my quilt to my backing fabric. So this is the way that I would do it. I've got excess backing fabric on here, which I've already put onto my rail. And this is on the Moxie with the loft frame. The backing fabric goes onto this second rail. This is a 4-rail system. So we've got, normally I would attach my quilt top to this front rail in this configuration, which is called, I got this out so I could reference it because it's, handy quilter call this one the low position. So we've got a little diagram. When you get your Moxie, for those of you who will be getting your Moxie with loft frame shortly, this is the low position, and that's how we recommend that you have that configured. So I've already preloaded this. I can then just lay on my wadding. So I've just put the wadding on here, smoothed it out. I would have left the wool wadding out just to sort of puff up a bit more. If I'd got it out yesterday, it would have been better, really, because it does get quite compressed in the packet. And what I need to do next is I need to attach my quilt top to the backing and the wadding. And the way that I do that is I use, you get one of these channel locks with the loft frame. A channel lock, it works by, if we just move to this side.
It's just a circular plastic tip.
Yeah, it goes on one of your wheels on the carriage, okay, on the machine. And that then locks so that I can only go side to side. And that's what I did to create this straight line here. So I pin my quilt top in place, just with a couple of pins to hold it, and then put my wheel lock, my channel lock on, and do a straight line. I then do some lines down the side.
What's the backing fabric you have on there?
It's just a plain grey. It's a Macawa plain. So then I come down here and I do my sides. Again, I do a little bit of pinning and I put the side tensioners on. When I've done that, because this is just a piece that I'm going to start, unusually, I'm going to start this in the centre. But of course, you know, it's what you do on a domestic machine. I would start at the centre and work my way out. Well, the dream big, I definitely want to do that. But I also want to put some basting stitches in just to hold it and make sure that I'm not creating any issues for myself with any folds or inconsistencies of the basting. So what I would do, now I've done both sides, I've gone across the top, I want to roll this forward. Once I've attached my quilt, then I can just roll backwards and forwards as I wish and work on the section that I want. It's not attached to this front rail. And the reason that I wanted to demonstrate this to you is, imagine that this were, I don't know, a table runner or a set of table mats or a whole load of things. Load up a piece of backing fabric, put your wadding and your project in sections and work on it as a whole. Or even on this one, you could do 2 cot quilts side by side. So just, you know, thinking about that. Okay, so to roll it forward, what I need to do is, I'm going to let these 2 little stoppers off, and then I'm going to move that forward until I've got to the place that I want, put the stoppers back on. Then I'm going to adjust my quilt top and my wadding and make sure that it's, because it just came out the packet, like I say, I think that the wool just needs to just be eased and make sure it's nice and flat, like so.
So Glenys, for a Sweet 16, it's the same as any of the other handy quilter machines. You can use exactly the same wadding and backing fabrics that Liz has been talking about.
Yes, yeah, this, I mean, I know that Di had just posted online the Dream Big panel that she'd just finished on her Sweet 16 as well. So, you know, for anybody who's a sit-down quilter, this is a lovely size project for you to work on too.
So Linda Gosselin is on. Liz from Massachusetts.
Oh, wow, Linda.
US handy quilter educators.
Absolutely. Great to have you here then, Linda. That's so nice. I can only imagine how early it is over there. That is early. I mean, we do have Pat from the Adirondacks who is here on a regular basis, which is lovely. And a few other people from, I don't know whether Kathy from Esperance is here, but we, welcome to our really, you know, our lovely international customers. But also, I haven't seen Linda since I went to Salt Lake City and did the Handy Quilter Retailer Academy, and it was lovely to meet Linda then. And she does has a lovely page, actually, a Quilters Help Desk on Facebook, which is a very useful resource. So there we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a basting stitch. I've got it set to precision mode. I've got it set to 6 stitches per inch. I can make that slightly longer to a 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to do this within what will be trimmed off, because I'm going to do this one like a number of people have with the Dream Big. I'm probably going to do this so that it's a mount that goes around to the back of the quilt.
So Joyce is on from Boston as well. So we've got a
couple
of people
Joyce.
In Massachusetts watching.
How wonderful! Yeah, it's been really bad weather over there, though I understand. We were due our one of our deliveries to come over, and delays due to weather. I always know whether the weather's bad in the States because Debbie Brown, who's another handy quilter educator, she's out in the sticks, I think in upper New York State, and she has terrible weather on a regular basis. So she is my weather forecasting tool for how bad it is in the States. So you see, I'm just holding down and just making sure that I ease in and get that on nicely so that I don't get any rucks or folds. And I need to just move this on one more time, cutting my bobbin thread and my top thread as I go.
So Pam's asking, can you do the glide colours for the plum panel, please?
For the plum
Which
panel?
Plum panel is that?
That's not one I've got, so I won't be able to colour match it. But
we've got all the glide colours in stock. We don't have that panel in stock.
No.
So it's not going to be straightforward for us to match them.
Let's move that on to my last section. There we go. And just tighten that up. Make sure that's okay. Again, I'm just going to make sure I can see that there's some nasty little creases in my my wadding. I want to make sure that it's nice and flat, because there's nothing more irritating than having... And actually, if you're doing a quilt, every time we wind on, what we want to do is make sure that our wadding is nice and flat as we go. And obviously, because I've got two layers of wadding here, it's quite puffy here. So I've got to just be really careful not to push it down here, because that's actually going to create a problem for myself later on. So now I just do this. I thought this would be useful, because I think people who are interested in long arm quilting don't always understand how the frame is used. And of course, one of the things that we really do need to teach when we do installations is loading the frame, because it's not a skill that you'll have. You know, we can do quilt designs on our domestics, but we never really have to do this section. So just pulling this down. I have to do one more. But this is all good preparation, because once I've done this and I've got this attached, as I say, I'll be able to sort of work my way backwards and forwards on the quilt. How are we doing time-wise? Just going to put a pin in there just to hold it. What I'm looking for is just an evenness about this quilt top. And note, it's not drum tight. We never have the quilt top drum tight on the frames. It's not like an embroidery frame where it's important that, you know, you kind of really ratchet it down. On this particular frame, we would normally be able to get something like if we put underneath, we can see our knuckle quite easily through there. So just finish that off. Every time I want to cut my thread, this is slightly different from when I'm doing quilting on the piece, is that I can just move it to the side and just trim it, and much quicker than picking up my thread each time, she says. There we go. Right. I'm nearly ready. I'm going to leave that open at the bottom for now, because I want to get on and just do that section in the center. Because the thing I wanted to show was how we pull through the thread. Say we're changing from one glide to another. The quickest way to change this thread is to cut the thread back here on the thread mast. I'm going to change it to this gorgeous sea green. Remove that one.
Morning, John. John Cole-Morgan.
John Cole-Morgan. Hello, John.
Thought you were on holiday, John.
Yeah.
So, you seem to be doing live sessions every day, so it doesn't look like much of a holiday to me.
That's a busman's holiday, John. So what I do, we're talking to John, and I'm forgetting to narrate what I'm doing here. I'm going to tie a knot that joins the two thread ends together. All right, and the reason is I'm going to pull this thread through using the same thread path that I've already got. So just pull it out the needle end and then just pull that thread through. When it gets to this, which is called the tension assembly, this tension assembly, I want to ease that knot through. And then here it is. So that's the quickest way. Now, at this point, having got it all the way through, again, what I do is I put my fingernail through between the two tension discs and then let go, and I just make sure that feels right. Very much one of the things that you learn, and obviously as a newbie long arm person, you don't have this experience, but one thing that we encourage you to do is get the experience for what that feels like, what normal tension feels like, because that will help you no end. When we're doing panels like this and we're changing the thread, or when you see some of Linda Jackson and some of the other really top quilters, they're changing their thread a lot. Let me just get that end.
John says it is a holiday watching us.
John.
And good morning, Michaela from Germany.
Oh, Michaela, you do some beautiful work. We love seeing your posts. Now I'm going to move myself back to that centre. So this time I'm going to let off the back stopper and just move this rail forward. Okay, and you can see that's now nice and flat. Put that stopper back on. All right, put my side tensions on and we are ready to start quilting. When we start, do I want to start quilting without testing the thread? No, I don't. I want to go and get a little bit of fabric from my cut off sections of fabric. This would be the same sort of fabric that I'm using in my quilt, of course. So let me just put this down here. I'm going to put it on top of my double, I'm going to say bat, my double wadding, and for the Americans, double bat. See, I'm multilingual. I'm afraid, Michaela, I can't do, I think it's German, isn't it? Yes. Ich habe kein Deutsch. Okay, so I want to test this because this is a double wadding. And although I'm pretty confident that when I had the pink on earlier that felt okay, that was just a basting stitch, so that's going to come out. But this is much more important. So I'm going to do needle down, needle up, move it away, bring up my bobbin. There's my bobbin thread. That should run freely. I always double check that it doesn't get caught up. I come back and I do a couple of stitches just to secure that thread. And then I'm going to do some little test stitching. I'm going to adjust my stitch lengths now. I'm in precision mode. Precision means I move the handlebars, it sews, I stop, it stops. On the Moxie, we've got all the controls through our handlebars. So on here, from the home screen, in precision mode, it says 4 stitches per inch. I'm going to increase that to what I want to use on my Dream Big panel, which is 11. So now I'm ready to sew. And I'm going to have a look at that. Things to do are straight lines, with sharp points, and circles in both directions. And this really tests to see whether my tension is correct or not. Then I will loosen off this stopper at the back so that I can have a good look at the underside. And let's just see what that looks like. And there we go. That looks really good. And I'm very happy with that. I don't need to change it at all. So retension it, put the side tensions on. You get very used to doing this. And then we're ready to start. Finishing off, just going to show you finishing off. So I would do some little stitches. If I was finishing off on my quilt, I would do 2 or 3 back stitches or micro stitches. Then I pull an excess of the thread straight off the cone. I don't want to disturb my stitches that I've just sewed. I move away, either the side or back, and then I come forward and I do a single final stitch. Needle down, needle up. There is my bobbin thread. If it's a utility quilt, or if I don't tie my threads ends in, I can just cut that level because I did my micro stitches. But if I want to enter it in Festival of Quilts or whatever, or one of the quilt competitions, the virtual ones, I'd probably tie that in.
As Linda says online, there's a lot of knotting and burying.
Knotting and burying. And there are techniques for doing that much more effectively. So that those stitches are well hidden. Key thing is when you're stitching and we're doing the sort of start and stop is that we don't end up with a bobble on the back. And the way to avoid that with all the machines, all the handy quilters, just loosely hold that top thread when you're doing needle down, needle up.
Morning, Rachel in Wales.
Oh, hi, Rachel. I meant to ask you, do you play the cello then, Rachel? You asked if I played the cello the other week. I'm just thinking you possibly do. Right, all I want to do for now is just echo around some of these, the petals on the real inner of this, just so I've got some basic stitching down. I'm on 11 stitches per inch and I'm going to go for it. Just stop. I just want to trim those ends.
So Rachel plays the flute.
Ah, the flute.
Or she used to.
Okay. Yeah. Is that used to like me? I used to. Now it just is. It resides in.
Okay, so because of the match of the thread, it's quite difficult to see that.
Oh, I haven't done that. It's behind the
Yes, I know.
machine.
I'm trying to see.
Okay. Let me do a little bit more. There we go. You can probably see that now. Okay, we're getting some definition here. For example, this bit here, with some side light, we would see more definition. It's creating a lovely texture in this inner section. And the kind of thing that I want to do in here is just define more of this here next. So I'll just do that, and then we'll probably call it a day. We'll get on to the other thing that I would like to demo. There we go. So that's just on my basic outline.
So Rachel, the settings on here are precision mode.
Yep.
And 11 stitches per inch.
There we go. That's looking good.
There we go. There's a start.
It is. And really, one of the things that I wanted to convey was get some backing fabric, get a couple of layers of wadding, baste it in place, go for it. Okay? So I'm really looking forward to seeing your photos online. Now, this is the other half of this panel that I showed you earlier. I'll just remove that. We don't need that anymore. That was the dream big. And we're just going to move over now to our Avanti that I've got over here.
So
this
Helen,
is
Helen, just answer this question. Helen Burnham is asking, if you're in precision, how do you get sharp corners on your stitches?
Well, for that, I didn't particularly need sharp corners, but I'm going to use crews on here. It's a really good question, Helen. For those people who don't know, we've got 3 different modes of stitching on these machines. When we do the foundation workshop, we do go through and we give you a little chart of when you would use those different modes. So where I was stitching there, and when I stopped, I wanted it to stop because I was thinking about, it's quite a detailed area and I didn't want it just to keep stitching. So that's why I didn't have it in crews. But here, let me just go through what we've got on this setup here. So that was the Moxie with the loft frame. This is an Avanti. It's on a little foot frame with the extra little buddy. The little foot frame has got this front rail and this back rail that you can easily remove, and normally you would baste in advance of putting your quilt on the frame. And you can quilt up to a king size on this frame. So it's been very, very popular in the UK. However, with the little buddy addition, we can actually baste while onto the frame. We've got a backing fabric here. We've got our quilt top that goes over the top and the wadding goes between, and this is our take-up rail. Our take-up rail is where our finished quilt will be, and this is what we call the idler bar. So we've kind of transformed a little foot frame into a usable quilt up to about 50 inches? I always forget.
No, 42 inches really.
Okay, 42-inch wide quilt, so something similar to what we've got on here. The nice thing about the little buddy addition is that if you're doing cock quilts or if you're doing art quilts, you've effectively got like a studio frame, but then you can do bigger quilts on it as well. So it's a lovely combination. Avanti. The Avanti, we've got some still in stock, but the Avanti has now been discontinued by Handy Quilter. But it's a fantastic machine. It's a real tried and tested machine, and we love it. When we get them in for service, we're always impressed at how well the stitches are, even when there's a lot of stitches on the machine. What we've added to this is electromagnetic channel locks. And for those of you who don't know what they are or why you might want them, on this Moxie, we use this. This is a channel lock, and it locks the wheels by just going around the wheel and holding it in place in either the X or the Y, the Y or the X axis. Electromagnetic channel locks do that with a little switch box, which is I've mounted up here. And the switch box enables us to move from locking either the vertical or the horizontal direction so that we get beautifully straight lines. And it's a lot of fun to play with. And I first discovered it actually when I was in that Salt Lake Retailer Academy. And I did a class with one of the educators there who showed us how to use it. And I was the one who kept jumping up saying, can I have a go? Because it was so much fun. So in this case...
Morning Derek.
Oh, hello Derek.
And Linda both saying how much they love their electromagnetic channel locks.
Yeah, it is. I think there's something about it that is, it's kind of childlike, the way that you it clicks and it goes and you can only move it in one direction. And the way that it does that is on the frame itself, we put some steel bars. The electromagnets get mounted to the underside of the carriage, so that it holds it onto those steel bars. Then we have another one on the y-axis, and we put a steel bar on the underside of our machine. So that's how it works, and it comes with all of those bits and pieces. Now we've got a reduced electromagnetic channel locks on our website this week until Friday, 12 noon. Plus we've got a second user version that we got back in part exchange. Somebody upgraded to Pro Stitcher, and you can only have electromagnets or Pro Stitcher, because Pro Stitcher you do get effectively channel locks. So the second user of Anti, I'm just looking at my board over there, it's £395. Normally they're £795, so it's a good saving. Let me show you how it works then. I've got my channel locks installed on here. This box, I can take that off. I've actually just put it up there, but if I wanted to, I could actually hold that. I'll just leave it up there for now. And I did some just test stitching. So if I press in this direction to the left, I can now just go left to right. I was in precision mode, but I'm going to go into cruise, and I'm going to have 9 to 10% cruise on this. So when I stop, it does plenty of stitches on the corners, which is what Helen was asking. Look at that. So I can do lots of beautiful designs with this. I can create really nice dimensional effects. If I'm into modern quilting, I can create lovely matchstick type quilting very, very effectively, very quickly. So it's a lot of fun to play with, and I definitely think that if you think that you're never going to go Pro Stitcher, or it might be a few years till you go Pro Stitcher, I would say that if you're quilting for others or if you're doing modern quilting, you would love this. If you put it on a little foot frame, what you can also do is mount your quilt. If you want to have diagonal lines, you could mount your quilt with some extra sections in the sort of corners, the four corners, and have it diagonally, but be able to do horizontal and vertical lines really, really easy to create diagonal lines when you take it off. So that's the electromagnetic channel lock. I think that's everything I wanted to say about the items we've got. Is there anything else that Pete would like to add?
Just on the electromagnetic channel locks, then we've got 10% off for this week for those that we have in stock, and we have one set of second user which we took as trade-in for somebody who was upgrading their machine. I've just put those live on the website, so that's suitable only for the Avanti or for the Simply 16. First come, first served.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are self-installed, so there are good instructions, and there are also some videos online that we can point you towards.
Yeah. The other thing is we had an inquiry from one of our customers who asked about practice fabric. We like to use this black fabric because it's really good for writing on with chalk marker, and we can practice our designs and then stitch over them. This has got a handy quilter emblem on it, which is why we use it. But we've got this available. You can buy it by the metre at
£7.50 a metre.
£7.50 a metre, and I'm just about to go and put it up on the website.
Okay, so Kate, when Liz was doing the channel locks there with the patterns, you don't have to stop the machine from between moving from horizontal to vertical. Liz was just switching the box, and she doesn't have to stop the machine in between those.
That's right. No.
So switch it on once.
Shall I just show?
Yes.
Okay, so this is in vertical.
So if you just switch in the switch box.
I'm just changing it now. Vertical, horizontal.
There we go.
Vertical. There we go. My beautiful modern improv design, all set. So what I like to say to all of you is just go for it. You know, this is all about this time that we've got, this availability of time on our machines. We would just love it if you just, posted some of the things you're working on and had a go at some of the techniques that we've gone through over these last few weeks, because it's all about getting on machines. We say that those that we see the biggest progress is because they just get on and quilt, and it's time on the machine. You can see, I mean, this has been 50 minutes from start to finish. All I'd done was a couple of lines on there, and I've already started quilting on it. Nothing to hold you back. Go for it. Absolutely go for it. So from Pete and I, it's lovely to see so many of you on here. Really good to see some of you from the States. Hi, Linda, again. And lovely to have you on here. No pressure. The next one will be next week on Saturday, which is the 13th, my mum's birthday. And the day after is Valentine's Day. So we look forward to seeing you then. Have a great week, everybody. Okay, bye now.
Bye.